realize that the journey is everything. There ain't no destination, man, the journey is everything. Looking back, I realize the journey is everything. Ain't no destination, man, the journey is everything. Yeah.
Yep, so hello Mr. Rajesh. So for our viewers who don't actually know who you are, so for some of us who might not be familiar with the startup industry and who are one of the most popular names in the startup VC and angel community, can you share a bit of insight on how you have been contributing to the startup community, your previous investments and all that?
Yes, so I run GSF Accelerator, which is the leading technology accelerator now in India. It's a multi-city platform. We have now funded over 45 companies in last 5 batches. Our current batch, GSF 5th batch, has 5 startups. I've also angel invested in total about 60-65 companies. 2 years back, I co-founded a company called InnerChef, which is a fast-growing food tech platform in the country.
So GSF is like one of the most popular early stage accelerators in India, right? And it's been just 4 years so far. So how many companies or how many batches have you run in total, and how many startups have applied?
We have done, this is our 5th batch. We have funded a total of 45 companies. In 5 companies we've exited. Almost 80% of our companies have gone on to raise next round.
That's quite amazing.
Yeah, and 20 companies now have VCs in them. So we've done pretty well.
Okay.
We're very selective about the startups. We don't have huge intakes. Every time we apply, open our application, about 500 to 1,000 startups apply. But as you can see, in current batch, we've only taken 5 startups. So it's pretty tough to get into GSF.
Right. So just to kick things off over here, can you share a bit of your journey, like how did you start? Because you have done a lot of things. You have started the Times Internet Group, been a director of Reliance Entertainment, and then from there on you have founded a lot of startups and invested in a bunch of them, some of which have been like extremely successful. So can you just share a bit of light on your entire journey so far?
See, I started my career in late 80s, early 90s. I didn't start as an entrepreneur, but whichever assignment I took for the companies, I was very entrepreneurial.
Okay.
So one of the first entrepreneurial thing was in 90s I started Times FM, which was the first private radio venture in the country. In late 90s I started the first internet venture for Times of India Group called Times Internet, which went on to become very successful till 2005. And it was perhaps Sequoia Capital's first big investment outside US.
Okay.
At that point of time, I was approached by Anil Ambani and Reliance to build their entertainment platform as the founding president. And that's what I did till 2012. But as I went into last few years of my corporate career, I had this realization that the future will be shaped by startups and technology. So I felt that technology, I need to spend next 2 decades of my working life being closer to startups and closer to technology. And with that vision, I started GSF Accelerator.
Okay.
And it's been a good 4-year journey. 2 years back, I myself did a new startup called InnerChef, which is growing well. So it's like a journey of discovering new truths,
Right.
and from becoming from an entrepreneurial person to an entrepreneur.
Yes. Yeah, I think that's one of the major shifts that people have to realize, like when to move from working in a company and having all those entrepreneurial tendencies and then going ahead and starting your own startup. So yeah, I think that has turned out really well for you, right?
It has. I think there are all kind of people. Not everyone is born entrepreneur.
That's correct.
I think entrepreneurship is something that you can imbibe over a period of time.
Right.
But before becoming an entrepreneur, you have to become, my thesis is you have to become entrepreneurial.
Yes.
So my journey has been from entrepreneurial person to becoming an entrepreneur.
And I think this is one of the common fears behind, like, with all the entrepreneurs or all the possible entrepreneurs, that they don't actually want to take that step and go ahead and start their startup. They are like too afraid of what will happen if I don't get any customer, or what will happen if I don't get any funding. So I think that's one of the major fears which entrepreneurs have to get rid of. Right? And yeah.
So being entrepreneur is about overcoming your fear. And other thing that I realized is that you have to start before you're fully ready. So no matter how much you prepare to do a venture and you make business plans, you go over things, once you get into a business, inevitably it turns out to be different than what you had planned. So while there is no harm in planning and thinking through, you have to start and you have to trust your instincts to do the right things when the moment comes. You cannot cross the bridge ahead of the time.
Yeah, I think I completely agree with you on this one, because when I was starting, I actually took a decision that I have to leave Rediff and then directly launch my own startup, and that turned out to be really good. So yeah, so that is one of the first step for all the entrepreneurs out there. So apart from that, like, for all the future startups who are planning to apply for GSF, or anyone who wants to start their own startup, what is one of the most common mistake you see startups do during the early days? Like when they are just maybe thinking about the product, or they are trying to make sense of what to do in the startup. So what kind of mistakes have you seen the entrepreneurs?
So a few things. I think it's very important in the first 1 year of the company to get the right product market fit and not scale ahead of that, or not even raise too much money ahead of that. So people misjudge that calculation. They come to, on the basis of false evidence, they think they have achieved product market fit. So raising too much capital ahead of that is a dangerous situation, and many startups end up doing that. The best startups take their time to figure out the right product market fit. Second thing which I have seen, more than raising capital, the best startups are good at bringing talent in. So while to some extent, as you raise capital, you can bring in talent, but the really good founders are talent magnets. So bring in the talent and the capital will come.
Yeah, I think it's just the vision of the founders which inspire like the other people to work with them.
Absolutely.
Even in the early
In
days.
phase one,
Yeah.
that's the most important thing. People shouldn't come because they're seeing VCs backing you. They should come because they see a person who can build something big,
Yeah,
and they
actually
back that person.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, so that's how we come to our next question. So what are some of the things that you see when selecting startups for your GSF accelerator? And I think GSF accelerator is for the early stage or napkin ventures, right? It's at a highly early stage.
It is very early stage, but having said that, we don't back ideas. We back companies or startups which have built some prototype. They might not have customer traction, but we generally back companies with founders who worked 6-9 months together. So, and that's our most important criteria, the team. We rarely fund single founder team. We mostly fund 2 to 3 founder teams. And that's a very important part of our evaluation. The intensity, the motivation, the drive, the insight, the early product prototype that they built, their understanding of market, their vision of building a team. These are some of the things that we back. In my learning of investing in these 45 companies out of GSF Accelerator, not a single company has turned out to be exactly the way we saw it. They all pivoted, changed, adapted to new environment. And to that extent, we've not been backing a thesis, but we've been backing teams. And in that respect, GSF is different, because we believe exceptional entrepreneurs will find their right opportunity, right?
And I think like if the team is correct, they can actually pivot to another idea if the first idea is not the perfect idea that they're looking for.
Yes, at the stage where VCs come in, they are more thesis driven. So by that time, they want to see whether this thesis is playing out in that market, and then they want to back a good team to play out the thesis. But at the stage where accelerators and we come in, we are working in very nebulous sort of market definitions. In that way, we have to take our bets on teams more than a particular thesis.
And yeah, judging by your success, I think that is the perfect way to go for it. So for all the entrepreneurs who are starting out their career, it's better to build a team first and have the product idea in mind and then go ahead with it. So yeah, so that brings us to our next question. So you keep on traveling to the Bay Area a lot of times, right? Quite frequently in the year. So what is some of the major differences that you see between the startups in India and the startups in Bay Area? Like is there a mindset difference that the startups in India are not thinking big enough, or is just the entire ecosystem over here that is a bit different compared to India?
Yeah, I think startups are same, but the ecosystem is far bigger and deeper here. So when I think of ecosystem, I am thinking of these 3-4 things. One is the best talent of the world aggregates here. So secondly, the depth of venture capital from angel to various rounds of investing is available here, which is not as yet totally there in India. Third, I think there are corporate support here to startups. There are a range of companies from Google, Facebook, Cisco, who are willing to acquire companies and talent, which is exceptionally strong in Valley compared to India. Finally, I think the IPO market for VCs, for startups is far more robust here than in India. So I think it's just a matter of time. It's in the sense 10 years, this ecosystem is 10 years further ahead of Indian ecosystem. I think startups are inherently entrepreneurial energy is same in India as it's here. It's just the environment in which they're supposed to work very different. So Indian entrepreneur has a much tougher environment in which he has to raise money, he has to get customers, he has to make his business work. And that's what makes Indian entrepreneurs very resilient and tough cookies.
Right. Yeah, and I think even sitting in Bangalore or sitting in Delhi, you can actually build a great company and then maybe later on decide to move over here. So it's not like as soon as you're starting a startup, you have to move to Silicon Valley.
Not necessarily. Today, I think Indian market is deep enough, allows certain validation of your thesis to happen. So there is a consumer internet play in India that is become pretty big, from travel companies to e-commerce companies, and that's a very strong play. But there is another play which is B2B companies, especially on the tech side, where Indian ecosystem is as yet not deep enough. Many times, a lot of Indian companies have to find their early adopters in Silicon Valley or outside India. And especially at GSF, we've had success with a few of such companies, including in this batch. So this is exceptionally talented engineers who have a vision to build a product for the world market. And in those cases, now the support from Valley is there for such companies to either migrate to Valley or work in a hybrid environment where part of their teams are in India, part of their BD teams here in the Valley, and they somehow take a shot at becoming big from here. Like InMobi, Freshdesk, Zoho, these are all Indian companies that became big from our previous batches, Hacker Earth, Whatfix,
Little Eye
Labs. These are similarly companies that are trying to become, get this model right.
Yeah.
I think Israelis built this model very well. Israel never had a big market in its home market, but they always built for US market first. And I think we given the influence of Indian community on Silicon Valley, this model should play out in next 10 years.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think that's absolutely right. And one of the last questions, so for all the startups who are planning, or all the entrepreneurs who want to jump into startup or want to start their own startup, what are some of the technologies that you see are going to be really big in the future, in the next 5 or 10 years? Be it like AI or be it VR, what are some of the things which you think to be big enough?
Yeah, I think deep learning, machine learning, and AI is clearly a game changer, and it's taking technology to the next level and is creating a new paradigm. And in fact, in our current batch of 5 companies, 3 companies are AI driven. So I do believe that AI will be big. The others are sort of this year, I think, especially in Indian context, fintech is quite deep and revolutionary, and that is playing out in phase 1 in the way Indian customer is adopting new payment mechanism. You've seen companies like Paytm becoming very big, but I think going forward this will play out in many different aspects of financial inclusion and wealth management. For example, we have a company called Oro Wealth, which is changing the way the investors or small investors will look at investing in India.
Okay.
Right. Then other area where I feel technology has a big role to play in India is health tech and wellness.
Yeah. I think that particular sector is not yet enough matured in India, right?
That's right. So it's a nascent sector but big sector where role of technology will be enormous. One Indian company has already become pretty big called Practo.
Yes.
But in our previous batches, we funded a few health tech companies, Delhi Rounds, Docs App. In this round, we have a company called Breathe Wellbeing. So I think there is scope to build 10, 15 very good health tech companies out of India, not just med tech companies.
Yeah.
So I think given the size of Indian market, the challenges that we face in health are unique, and technology will have a big role to play there.
And coming to kind of the conclusion of all of this, so when you started InnerChef, what are some of the things that you thought you did differently compared to when you started back in the 1990s?
Yeah, so when I thought of InnerChef, I saw 3-4 things. One, food is a non-cyclical market. As the Indian middle class grows, the palate for international food or even Indian cuisine from across India is growing, because with travel and with awareness, human palate is evolving across the world, right? So if you went back 100 years, we ate our own local food, village level. But in last 10 years, food has become global, across the world. So humanity is getting exposed to newer tastes, and I think that's a mega trend. So InnerChef was premised on this belief that we can bring the wonderful food of the world to different parts of the world. The third thing I think is again a mega trend on food, where especially with millennials and now across the world, people want to eat good food. They want to eat food made with good ingredients, farm to fork, organic, health food are big trends now. They're coming into critical stages of maturity. From being a very esoteric concept, they are now getting into mainstream adoption. So can InnerChef become a platform to bring these concepts to reality in India? So that's our vision. So our larger vision is to bring good food to millions at affordable prices at places that are accessible to them. So we are working on this premise. Building a great brand is a 10-year journey, 20-year journey. We are not even 2 years old, but we have seen good product market fit. We've seen good customer adoption. InnerChef platform is now available in 4 cities in India. We started in Gurgaon, NCR, but we're very strong in Bangalore. We are building our presence in Mumbai and Hyderabad now. So our vision this year is to deepen our presence in these 4 cities and thereafter go to hundreds of Indian cities.
Yeah, exactly. I think especially in India, there's a lot of scope for this kind of a product, right?
Absolutely. I think
Yeah.
our idea is that over 10 years, if you look at it, can we become a brand that stands for good food in India? That's the idea.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, so just to wrap things up, so the last thing, what is one of the advice you want to give to the persons who are starting for the first time or the first time founders? A single most critical piece of advice.
Be true to yourself, do what you like, think big, but start small.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Out in California, counting up my blessings. Only 24 with a multi-million-dollar pension off my catalog. That's cause I'm a don, like Cheeto, cause I'm on. And I got more songs than the Beatles.